Hefner has been a fan of this Dragons deck, very similar to what Eric Rill won with a couple of weeks ago in the Open Series. A much more aggressive slant to it, and I have to imagine this is probably a pretty good matchup for Heroic.
I think a lot of it is being on the play. I think that I would want to be on the Heroic side regardless, but you know, once you can get a creature outside of the red removal spell range, there's not a lot for Dragons to do except for, you know, basically fly over you and try to race that way. And at that point, cards like Ordeal of Heliod are backbreakers.
Scherer down at 19 already from a windswept heath. That searched up a basic forest. Here's a copy of Hero of Iroa. So if Hefner didn't know what Scherer was up to, he certainly knows now. Only one deck plays that card. Hefner did start things off with a Forest and Elvish Mystic, so looking to take the initiative back with the Mana Accelerant. He'll play a copy of Temple of Abandon and Scry. We'll see where that top card goes soon enough, but Scherer, number 17 on our Season 3 leaderboard. Just a couple Open Series points away from being in the top 16. We get you 2 buys.
And that was a great opportunity there for Jessy to have something like Wild Slash or Draconic Roar. His deck was kind of concealed by a turn 1 Forest and Elvish Mystic. Caleb was not playing around red removal. You see God's Willing in hand and just was ignoring in that spot. Jessy without red mana untapped, and now Caleb has a great opportunity to get this Hero Iroas to a size where Jessy can't realistically handle it.
So Scherer has untapped with a Hero Iroa, so he can make a rather large hero. He'll start by playing a Temple. Take a look at that top card. Does have Dromoka's Command in hand. And this is arguably the best Dromoka's Command deck in the format, given how well it works with Heroic.
Very powerful with Heroic, especially favored Hoplite. And it gives this deck a little bit of an ability to play some defense to actually manage the board, whereas previous builds of Blue-White Heroic were just at the mercy of what their opponent was doing.
Here's an attack for 2. Can't imagine that Hefner has any interest in blocking. There's just so much that can go wrong. Here's Dromoka's Command. Looks like we'll have a counter and a fight. That means there will be 2 counters as Dromoka's Command is targeting it, so that's Heroic, and then a counter from Dromoka's Command itself. We have another one. So 16 is where Hefner is at as he begins his 3rd turn of the game. And now all of a sudden that card is out of Draconic Roar range and Wild Slash range, so it's going to take a card like maybe a main deck Roast here from Hefner to get that off the table.
And there is 1 copy of Roast in the list, so not impossible, but you better have it right now.
Jessy going to sacrifice Wooded Foothills. He'll search up a mountain. Both these players checking in at 5-1. Both having good tournaments so far, and both have had a lot of success in the Open Series. Again, Hefner, a runner-up at our Season 1 Invitational in Charlotte last year. Lost in the finals to Derek Sheets. Now here is a Wild Slash and a Crater's Claws to get that off the table. So, job done. Had to use 2 cards to do it, but got it off the table.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but better than the alternatives.
It's a favorite Hoplite. Scherer will pass the turn back. Hefner under a little less pressure now. As for Scherer, someone that we saw top 8 our Season 4 Invitational last year, had a lot of success with Storm. Now he's being hit by a Storm Breath Dragon. He's down to 15. God's Willing in hand here for Scherer.
I think Killa might be saying, I need to turn this into a pure race. I can't afford to leave mana unused. And I just need to cast this God's Willing just to get a counter on, to scry, and to use my mana efficiently.
Yeah, it's no longer about trying to save my creatures from removal spell. It's about trying to get you dead. Scherer will draw. He's got an Ordeal. That's pretty timely. That'll trigger Heroic. And the attack will allow him to trigger the Ordeal. So not a bad turn here. It looks like he's also got a copy of Aqua's form, so he might be moving all in here, and we might have a complete race.
He can leave up Stubborn Denial this turn if he wants to. And it looks like he's going down that road instead.
2 cards drawn. There's a copy of Mana Confluence. Here is the Good Man Trailblazer. Pass the turn back. The race is certainly on right now. Aqua's form in Scherer's hand. That's going to allow him to continue to break through. See who can win this race, because that's certainly where we're at. Hefner will play a Temple. Take a look at the top card. It'll go to the bottom pretty quick. Here comes Stormbreath Dragon. And he's going to attack. I don't think that Jessy can win this game by trying to play defensively.
It's very dangerous to sit back and block because of cards like Aqueous Form.
A Thunderbreak Region was the follow-up. Seeker of the Way, the draw here for Scherer. It's like if you're going to race, you got to race better than the Heroic deck, which is not easy, but it's what you got to try to do. The advantage that Green Red Dragons gets is that it's in the air.
Yep. Neither deck very effective at blocking the other one.
Here's Aqueous Form. That'll trigger Heroic. Counter added to the favorite Hoplite. It's a 5-power creature now. It's also unblockable and gets to scry one when it attacks. So that's what Scherer will do. Top card going to go to the bottom. And for Caleb, you're just hoping your opponent doesn't have a land. Because if Jessy does, he can go Monstrous and end this game. So Hefner will draw. That's an untapped land.
And yeah, you can see the shrug of the shoulders. Jessy knows he has nothing to do except go for it, and it's good.
Yeah, it is certainly good. Jessy Hefner going to win game number 1 here over Caleb Scherer. Green Red Dragons does win the race over Bant Heroic that particular game, but we'll see if things can swing back in Scherer's favor as we take a look at his sideboard.
2 copies of Stubborn Denial, 2 copies of Monastery Mentor, 2 copies of Ordeal of Heliod, 2 copies of Encasing Ice, 2 copies of Treasure Cruise, a Stratus Walk, an Island, and 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke. So there's 2 cards in here I love. 2 copies of Ordeal of Heliod, 2 copies of Encasing Ice. The matchup is a lot about damage racing, and Caleb's threats are fairly safe once they get to a certain toughness. So Ordeal of Heliod's just a great card to be bringing in, and Encasing Ice gives him some answers to the dragons. 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke I don't think are that well suited for this matchup because it's a huge cost for Caleb to leave up 2 mana given that Jessy's applying pressure, but it's possible that he wants it to answer some dragons.
Other side of things here for Jessy Hefner, he's got 3 copies of Twin Bull, 2 Outpost Siege, 2 Roast, 2 Feed the Clan, an Arc Lightning, 2 copies of Xenagos the Reveler, and a couple of 1-ups here in Gaia's Revenge, a Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, and a Plummet.
Like the 2 copies of Roast, they can handle some big stuff, and I don't mind the 2 copies of Feed the Clan as the matchup is a lot about damage raising.
Pretty straightforward stuff here for Jessy.
Yep. Both decks in the market for life gain because they aren't very good at interacting with each other, and they're both attacking, so this is kind of the best way to try to interact.
Game number 2 will be underway here between Hefner and Scherer momentarily, but if you have been watching the broadcast, you may have noticed that Patrick and I do have some piglets on our lapels because it is July after all, so we got to represent our pig token. Look at that beatdown boar.
It's ready to go. And you get these at game night. Head over to starcgames.com/game night for more information. Stores can run this program any day of the week, sanctioned or unsanctioned, any format. Just get players in the store for some fun and friendly magic. You're running out of time to get the piglet as July is winding down. If you want to get the August pin, the monkey, head over to your store when it turns into August. Too late to get signed up for this pin, but if you want to get signed up for the September kit, which is the Kraken, debuting today, head over to starcgames.com/game night or contact your Star City Games organized play representative.
Just taking a bath or destroying a bathtub.
Destroying a boat, give himself a good scrub.
There's also a rubber ducky in there.
It's going to be a really good play mat.
See, now the Kraken has done something I was afraid of. It's overshadowed Furious George.
For now. Furious George is going to get his time to shine come August.
All right. All right.
We gave him a lot of love when he got debuted.
I was a big Furious George fan.
Yeah.
Now we just look at the Kraken and how adorable it is, and it's just like Furious George has just become obsolete.
Not obsolete. Just, it had its chance to be the new kid, and now it's not anymore. And, life goes on. Soon the Kraken's going to be overshadowed by whatever comes out in October.
That's true. Still no Hippo. Haven't gotten there yet. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Jessy Hefner, Caleb Scherer. That is our match right now here for round number 7. Green Red Dragons versus Bant Heroic. Scherer, another player who's looking to qualify for the Players' Championship. We've seen him a lot this year. He's done a lot of traveling.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the outside looking in for sure, but there's plenty of time to make up the ground.
We've seen him make some top 8s, especially in Legacy when he's playing Storm. Had some deep runs, some standard opens. He's off to a good start here this weekend, though he is down a game. Hefner going to take a mulligan, not happy with his opening hand.
And Caleb on the cusp of 2 buys right now as well.
Yeah, he's been floating around in 15th to 18th place for a lot of this season and last season. You know, some weekends he comes in and he does have the necessary points for 2 buys. Some, like this weekend, he is one or 2 points short from having 2 buys and only has 1 buy. But that's the nature of that leaderboard. There are fluctuations. A lot of players trying to get points for those buys. Scherer happy with his 7 cards. We'll see if Hefner can find a better 6. If you are just joining us, of course, it is Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan. We are here in Chicago at SCGLive, hashtag SCGCHI, for your tweets all weekend long. If you've got questions about the format, or for us, do let us know. Interact with us on Twitter, as a lot of people watching this set release, be part of the crowd, join in on the conversation. And we have seen just a lot of awesome stuff so far. That Turbo Fog match, I tell you.
That deck looked potentially dangerous. I mean, I think it's easy enough to adapt to. People have Disenchants. Even Wild Slash with Ferocious is enough to shut down some of the shenanigans. But if you aren't prepared, and Ross Miriam was not prepared.
Not at all.
Forget it.
And that's the early version of the deck. You have to imagine there's probably some smoothing to be done in that. Temple of Enlightenment is where things will start here for Scherer. Take a look at the top card. We'll see where it goes. To the bottom for number 17 on our Season 3 leaderboard is Hefner will draw a card. He'll start with an Elvish Mystic yet again. The best start this deck can have.
Yep, and I think the best start you can have in Standard.
Yeah. A lot of people who play Elvish Mystic decks, I think of Chris Anderson praising just how good this card has been for him over the past couple of months. And there's a Windswept Heath. No play here for Scherer.
Well, now that he knows the matchup, you know, he's not going to tap out on, if he can avoid it, for some threat that can just be killed by a shock.
Sure.
He wants to be able to play something with God's Willing or the ability to cast something to get it outside of the range of red removal spells.
Scherer going to sacrifice his Windswept Heath, search up a basic Plains. He'll draw a card. That's a basic Plains. And now here's a Hero of Iroas, so representing something with 1 mana. With Heroic, it can be so many different things.
And this is where Roast out of the sideboard can be really powerful, because if you can test spell right now with some instant and untap and Roast, it doesn't even matter if he has a trick.
Like what's happening with Draconic Roar. There's God's Willing. I think the question right now is 3 damage dealt to Caleb. Is it like Searing Blaze?
Searing Blaze has 2 targets.
Correct.
Draconic Roar does not.
Correct. There's Thunderbreak Region, so no Roast. Scherer will draw. Does have green mana in hand thanks to Mana Confluence. Also has a copy of Jamoka's Command, so he'll start by playing the Mana Confluence. Here's an Ordeal. This is going to be a pretty good turn for Caleb Scherer. This is going to be a really good turn for Caleb Scherer.
And now Jessy can't get this off the table without some 2 roasts or some very weird combination of cards.
2 cards drawn. And I briefly wanted to fire up Jamoka's Command, but there's no reason.
I think I would consider Jamoka's commanding down the Elvish Mystic. Well, you're at 28 against 12. What is a chump block? I mean, Thunderbreak Region's what? A chump blocker, kind of?
I mean, it's kind of a chump. So the reason, I think the only way that Caleb can lose this game is something like Double Roast. And Jamoka's Command just counters one of them.
Sure.
So I honestly think that's the only combination of cards that can cause him to lose the game. So why even bother killing a creature?
Yeah, that's fair. I would not target the Thunderbreak Region. If I wanted to kill something at this point, it would be Elvish Mystic.
Sure. Here come the beatdowns. Scherer are going to go down to 23. The follow-up is another copy of Thunderbreak Region. Caleb going to untap. Going to demonstrate a lot of patience with this Dromoka's command. It is certainly burning a hole in his hand of something he probably does want to cast, but doesn't really have to rush to cast it.
No, yeah, especially now with Aqua's form, he can just take his hit next turn. He's still at 23. The attacks cause him to fall to 14, so even something like Crater's Claws is not a concern.
Step 1 is favorite hot play. There's a Flooded Strand. Looks like he might have Dromoka's command now. Let's see exactly how he wants to go by using this. Looks like a fight there. Some damage will be dealt because of the Thunderbreak Region triggers. Now here's an attack. Doesn't have to use Aqua's form yet.
That to me is a dangerous play. I mean, he takes a lot of damage doing it that way, and if Jessy has a way to gain life and survive next turn's attack, all of a sudden things get pretty dangerous. I think that if Caleb just goes Aqua's form on my Hero Viros attack you go with Dromoka's command at the ready, there's not a lot that can go wrong.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me too. Dromoka's command plays the role of safety net here.
Yeah.
Because you're playing against a red-based removal deck. So it's all going to be damage.
Right. And what are you worried about if you're in Caleb's spot here? You're worried about 2 roasts killing my 1 large threat, or you're worried about Crater's Claws killing me out of nowhere. And Dromoka's command covers both of those scenarios.
Here's Stormbreath Dragon. Now it's here to try to play some defense, but we all know that's not going to work. Because Scherer's going to draw a card. He's going to tap his Temple of Enlightenment, play Aqua's form. That's going to complete this game. So Caleb Scherer's going to win game number 2 here over Jessy Hefner. Bat Heroic and Green Red Dragons, they're getting ready for game number 3. Don't know how much is going to change in the sideboard here for either of these players, though Hefner is going to be on the play, which is certainly nice for him.
Yeah, he's had very nice draw so far on the draw, having a turn 1 Elvish Mystic both times. But that draw on the play has an opportunity to run Caleb out before he can get anything going, or at least force Caleb to risk his threats and tap out for them to keep up on the board.
As I mentioned, Jessy Hefner will be on the play here for game number 3. He is an invitational runner-up at Season 1 last year in Charlotte. He lost to Derek Sheets, and we all know about Derek's fantastic Swan Song token. Well, our newest invitational winning token is Ali Antrazi. It's him. He's an angel, and he's with us on Aiden.
Yeah, congratulations to Ali, and you can get this token yourself in a variety of ways. Anytime you register for one of our 2-day $20,000 Open Series events, any of our Premier IQs that occur either Sunday at our Open Series events or at your store, and any order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or more will come with this token. But again, this is limited time only. We'll have a new token after the Invitational in New Jersey at the end of August. So if you want to get your hands on the Ali Antrazi Angel token, either sign up for one of our large events or place an order from StarCityGames.com today.
For those of you not familiar with Caleb Scherer, number 17 on our Season 3 leaderboard, he's a player from St. Louis, Missouri, so not too far to travel this weekend. Even though we have seen him all around the Open Series this year. 26 years old, 1 invitational top 8 in Season 4 of last year, and also in 1 Open Series top 8, but looking to add to that so he can work his way towards the Players' Championship. He lives entirely out of his backpack as he is traveling a lot for the Open Series. He says his diet consists entirely of peanuts, though that seems unlikely.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe because he's 26 and not dead, so I don't believe that it's entirely out of peanuts, but
seems unlikely.
You know, I believe it's majority peanuts.
Sure. And then a graduate student in mathematics working on differential geometry, something that is outside of my scope.
Right. I know what geometry is, but I don't know what differential geometry.
Neither do I. And I slept a lot during geometry. Don't do what I did. Isn't that geometry was where you had like proofs, right? That was that class?
I think you're maybe thinking of calculus.
No, I didn't take calculus. I think geometry had proofs. Twitter, let me know. I think that's why I hated it so much.
I think all forms of math and science have proofs, but
hey, you're supposed to be helping me here.
Differential geometry is a mathematical discipline that uses the techniques of differential calculus, integral calculus, linear algebra, and multilinear algebra to study problems in geometry, the theory of plane and space curves and surface in the 3-dimensional Euclidean space formed the basis for development of differential geometry during the 18th century and the 19th century. So that's not much help for me, probably not much help for you at home, but that's the best I could find.
Hey, that's what he likes to do.
Yep, there you go.
He's a master of that. Jesse's really good at playing Elvish Mystic on turn when he's done it all 3 games. And it's very important for his deck. Favorite hot plate off of Mana Confluence is what Scherer has. Hefner will draw.
And starting off with an Elvish Mystic forces Caleb to play a riskier game. He has to tap out for his threats more often to keep up.
There's a Twin Bolt. And now here's a beatdown from Elvish Mystic. Defiant Strike the draw for Scherer. A Forest. And a Hero of Irosa with the shields down, so we'll see if Hefner has another removal spell. There's a Rugged Highlands, life to be gained. That is a roast, so the answer is yes. Now here comes Mystic again. Hefner doing exactly what he needs to do, which is keep these heroic creatures off the table.
Exactly, and he wasn't able to do these in the first 2 games, but again, that Elvish Mystic is forcing Caleb to play a different game, because if he tries to wait too long and play a threat with God's Willing backup, if Jessy is just curving into Thunderbreak regions and Storebreath Dragons, that game plan's too slow.
Scryer from Temple of Enlightenment. Scherer going to leave it on top, just past the turn back. This would be a great turn for a card like Stormbreath Dragon here for Jessy Hefner. There is a land. That's a Goblin Rabble Master. That's not bad either. That'll bring a Goblin token along with it. Here are the beatdowns for 2. Scherer down to 14.
So Caleb has brought in his Disdainful Strokes for this matchup, and I like it fine against decks that are about Languish or some big sweeper that's going to be hard for you to beat. Languish maybe not a great example because you can just make something large, but in this matchup where Jesse's putting you under pressure, leaving up 2 mana is an enormous cost.
Leaving up 1 mana is tough.
Yeah.
Let alone 2. Especially on the draw.
Yep.
There's Hero of Irosa. With 2 mana available, Hefner will sacrifice that Wooded Foothills. He's down at 20, he'll get a basic Forest. Hefner will draw. There's a Mana Confluence. Does he have a dragon? That's what his deck's all about, after all. He's got another Goblin token. Here come the beatdowns, it appears. Rabble Master is a 4-power creature. Hero of Irosa will block just a Goblin token. Scherer will take a pretty good lick there. And now there's a Thunderbreak region. It's imagine a good enough Disdainful Stroke target. You'll take basically anything.
Yeah, you just gotta get this card out of your hand.
Oh wow! Now there's a roast when the shields are down.
Yeah, you see Caleb there with Dromoka's Command, and he couldn't leave up both cards.
Mm-hmm. There's a land. Here's a favorite hot blade. That's a little small on this board. Follow up is Dromoka's Command. Okay, he's catching up pretty well now.
Yep. Command's very good in this spot.
Yep. Because Hefner's out of cards, but Hefner has big draws. One of them is Stormbreath Dragon. But he did not draw that, so now Scherer gets to draw. He gets to attack, feeling confident. He'll play a Defiant Strike.
An attack here seems awfully aggressive.
It's a little aggressive.
20-7 right now.
Yeah, and I would have much preferred the Defiant Strike before attacking because now he's playing an Ordeal post-combat.
Yeah, this is all sorts of bad news, potentially. I don't mind Defiant Strike, and if you draw the right card, maybe you make an attack.
Yeah.
But just sending in there, very aggressive.
Here comes the attack. Trigger the Ordeal. 2 cards coming. Windswept Teeth is 1. I believe Dromoka's Command is number 2. 6 damage going to be dealt. Well, the Seeker of the Way is a follow-up here. So he's going to start by playing Windswept Teeth. Here is Seeker of the Way. Pass the turn back, we'll share. Hefner with some pretty big draws still. But I believe Scherer actually sitting on Disdainful Stroke as well.
That cuts off a lot of them.
Yeah. Looks like it might be a tough game to win. There's a copy of Twin Bolt. Hefner will draw. It's a morph.
Mysteries abound.
Indeed. Could be Rattle Claw Mystic, could be Dent Protector. Actually, quite a few options here for Hefner. Don't think it's Death Mist Raptor, but could also be. And that's the kind of question that Scherer has to answer here is, what is that morph? Because there is a one of Dent Protector. There's also 2 copies of Ash Cloud Phoenix in the deck. Storm Breath Dragon off the top. Disdainful Stroke will counter it. Scherer's down to 3.
I think we would have seen Ash Cloud Phoenix if that was the morph.
I think you're right.
So we're probably looking at Rattle Claw Mystic.
Favorite Hoplite? That's going to get blocked pretty quick. Follow-up, Hero of Eros. There's an untap and a draw. A Temple is what Hefner draws. Top card goes to the bottom pretty quickly from the scry. Pass the turn back. Scherer will draw.
Caleb really just needs a castable spell. If he could gain a little life with Seeker of the Way, it would do a lot of work.
Yeah. He drew a copy of Encase in Ice. I think you hold that. Well, it looks like everybody's coming in. There's a block. Looks like maybe damage is going to be down. You can tell that Caleb wants to cast Encase in Ice right now to trigger prowess.
Yeah, I don't think it actually changes anything, though. I think all the same cards beat him, unless it's something weird like Arc Lightning or another Twin Bolt. You know, he gets out of the range of a couple things. But Encase the Ice is better served if he draws Stormbreath Dragon, to put it on that, of course. And it's not enough life to get him out of the range of Crater's Claws.
He's going to play the Encase.
This is some pretty sad sequencing, though.
Why's that?
Because there's a chump block that got to occur.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, no, you're right.
If Caleb was going to go down this road, he probably should have just fired off the Encase and then attacked.
Decide that pre-combat. Stormbreath Dragon is... that's
good
lethal.
enough.
Oh, no.
That's good enough.
Oh, no, that is going to do it. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Jessy Hefner is going to win this match here over Caleb Scherer. 2-1. Green-Red Dragons takes care of Bant Heroic. The morph was Rattleclaw Mystic. And I know that you asked Chris Van Meter, does that ever get old, peeling Stormbreath Dragon? No.
Nope.